What's going on? This is Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS, and I wanted to make a video for you today about a remote team. But it actually starts with Alaska. I want to give you just a little bit of my backstory here. So I have a online education software company called Lifter LMS. So I run a remote team for that. Before that, I did WordPress agency work, had a crew of 17 people that I managed in that business. But before that, I learned management and leadership through the outdoors, through the wilderness. I went to something called the National Outdoor Leadership School in my early 20s, and I spent almost a decade in Alaska where for a lot of that time, I managed a helicopter-supported dog sled tour business that you could only get to on a glacier. There's a couple hundred dogs up there, up to like 30 people or crew, and that's where I really learned leadership and fine-tuned and honed my management skills. Um, but I was able to take that and apply it to the online business space. And not everything crosses over, but a lot of it does. In Alaska specifically, I was in a remote area with a lot of responsibility, a lot of risk management. And if you mess something up in a remote area, it has big consequences. So I really learned how to manage in that environment. And then I just brought it into the online world. But I want to give you some key areas if you're not having a good experience with your online business in terms of managing people, or you're just getting ready to do your first hire and you want to make sure you're thinking things through correctly, or just know kind of how to set yourself up for success. The first thing I want to talk about is important. You do not just want to throw a body at a problem. With going to give you quick tips. You definitely want to interview a ton of people. You definitely don't want to pick the person that you like the most per se. Um, and you need to do a lot of digging. You need to ask them a lot of questions. You need to look at how they communicate. So always recommend doing at least a 2-week sample project where you kind of hire them, but it's really round 3 in the interview, and you're upfront about it and you pay them for the work, just to see how they actually do beyond what they say or what's on their resume. Hire people just like you or that you like. Um, Having a lot of diversity in the team is important, and also um, hire somebody that's just like you that has all the same strengths and weaknesses that you do. You want diversity there. The other thing that I find helpful is what I call honest humility. That's about yourself, that's about your other team members, about strengths and weaknesses. When you know what you're weak at, like for me, some like taxes and financial details, like really nitty gritty accounting stuff, that's not my strength. So I hire that out. Um, you just need to know like what you're good at. Are you a big picture person? Are you a details person? What types of work do you enjoy? What types of work do you not enjoy? When you're honest about that and honest about that with your team members, both by observation and asking them, you can really build a matrix of a team that really kind of covers all the bases, but that starts with honesty. The other thing you need to figure out is your leadership style. There's a lot of different leadership styles. Some new managers have a hard time with managing people, and a lot of that comes down to style. So my particular style that I like to take is more of a servant leadership role where I try to support people and lift them up and kind of get out of the way but coach them, as opposed to an opposite leadership style would be really in control and like give them the exact process and constantly checking in on them or whatever. I do a servant style leadership. Now, if something goes wrong or there's chaos in the business or a traumatic event happens, I can step in and do command and control style leadership. But my natural day to day is more the servant style, which people like. The other thing that's really important is training. You can't just throw body at a problem. You need to have a new contractor or new employee onboarding strategy. Some ideas there are, daily coaching calls for definitely the first 2 weeks to a month. Then transition that to a weekly call forever. People aren't always going to come to you, especially in a remote company across multiple time zones whenever they have a question. So if you have that open door policy and you create a structure for feedback and review, that's that could also be with someone else on your team if your team's bigger. Build that into your culture and management structure. But training is really important. People often, when they talk about bad hires, the first thing I'm going to ask is, well, how did you onboard the person? What kind of training did you provide? Bring them up to speed. There's also a here that you can do, which is instead of giving somebody 100%, 80% of it, but you do the first 10%, they do 80%, you do the last 10%. Especially during a training period, a lot of learning can happen. Let's collaborate instead of just wash your hands of some task way. The thing is motivations. What motivates people? There's a lot besides money. There's autonomy, which is like freedom and agency to kind of do your own thing. That's why a lot of people like to do remote work, whether they have kids at home or they want to travel, they want to diversify their income. There's this like autonomy that you can give people if you nurture that and give them freedom and give them control over their own schedule and vacation time. Motivating. Also, competence. If somebody's really good at something or working on something, if you give them an opportunity to express their abilities, either as a developer, or as a marketer, or as a graphic artist, and their competency gets better and better, that's also extremely motivating for people. The other is relatedness and community. So if you build a culture around your company, and let's say even the customers or prospects too, some kind of unique, fun, that's enjoyable to hang out with, that those kind of relationships become a motivating force as well. So all that is extremely motivating in addition to money, and you can intentionally design, parts into your motivation. The other is clear communication. If I'm in the hiring process and someone's not communicating well, there's a lot of spelling errors, or they're not capitalizing, or they're not answering everything I ask them, poor communication. If they're not coming and talking well through like video conferences, that would be a red flag. If they're not taking whatever I'm giving them and really showing that they understood what I was saying and not coming to me for feedback, those are all signs of poor communication. Communication is everything in a remote company. You have to work on it constantly and just build it right into the fabric and the DNA of your culture. The other thing is habits. Habits are important. Again, there's this mindset in management and online business through a lot of problem. But this is like a daily stand-up meeting, which we do at Lift Your LMS for 15 minutes. So you basically go around, everybody talks about what they did yesterday or before the meeting, what they're working on now, and if they're blocked in any way. And then we have something called parking lots, where if team member A needs to get with team member C after the daily meeting and have a little get together where they're live working through some issue or collaborating on something, that's part of the daily habit. And that's essential. Most of the work we do, 95% of the time in my business remote team company, is asynchronous. People can do it whatever they want by themselves, whatever. 15 to 20 minutes. That's the grease that keeps it all together. And then we have like a bigger weekly meeting that's more big picture and more focused on just making sure we're all heading in the right direction and people reporting on what they're up to. So you develop a culture where people aren't in silos, just like working and not aware of what else is going on or the big picture goals, strategies, and move to business. So developing these habits is really important, whether that's a training habit, something that feeds their motivation, something that shows that you care about good communication, honesty and humility about what our strengths and weaknesses are and what's working, what's not working, and also making sure that the team either pre-hire, you're always building your virtual bench, or you're optimizing the roles and the positions that you already have and making sure that people are happy. So those are some quick tips on how to manage a remote team. I'm Chris Badgett from Lift Your LMS. If you like this video and want to see more like it, hit the thumbs up and also consider subscribing. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.